What's up, y'all? Erroneous here, back with another Raid Shadow Legends video. In today's video, I will be going over the brand new fusion that's coming into the game, GRANYT. And then either in today's video or in a separate video, I'll go over all the brand new champions that are coming into the game, depending on how long the video is. So I'll try to make this as brief and quick as possible for you guys. Yeah, let's just get right down to the brass tacks. So let's do this. All right, so as you can see here, this is the calendar right above me. Maybe I can make it a little bit larger so you could see it better on your screens. So we have the Fusion calendar starting September 22nd, which is today, Monday at the time of this recording. And we have to get Glade Wolf. We have to get 16 Glade Wolves, fuse them into Hilda, and then fuse Hilda into GRANYT. So I'm still on the fence of going for this guy fully. The only reason why, for some reason, I wouldn't get Leonardo, or a lot of players wouldn't get Leonardo, is because they use all their resources that are shards and possibly immortals or soulstones if they require them during this event, which they usually require shards. They just don't always require soulstones. Once in a blue moon, they might do soulstones during a fusion, but they rarely ever do it. Maybe they've done it one time, but that's about it. So Gear Hunters event is first. I thought that was an interesting name for gear. So you got to get artifacts and accessories, and they did put a 2-star basalt in here, which is nice. Glade Wolf's at 3,700. It's essentially kind of like a dungeon diver if you think about it. It's pretty much dungeon divers, right? Yeah, it's dungeon divers. So they just call it Gear Hunters now. I wonder why they changed the name. I don't know. It's kind of interesting to me, but yeah, it's dungeon divers. Okay, they just changed dungeon divers to Gear Hunters. It is what it is. So regardless, that's going to be the hardest one. So you need to push hard as possible. So you should be farming the Fire Knights tournament, Fire Knight dungeon, alongside the Gear Hunters at the same time, because you're going to get the gear from Fire Knight. And then gear enhancement is going to be the next day, which is the 23rd of September, so it should be fairly easy. Then we got Dragons tournament on the 25th. It is kind of gonna coincide at the end of Gear Hunters, so that's nice. So it's not like you only can farm Fire Knight through Gear Hunters. So Dragon tournament is going to be going on during the gear enhancement as well. Then you've got the champ training on the 25th starting as well. Summon rush for the first summoning event. So that's going to be summoning specific shards. So typically your sacred shards are 500 points each. And then you've got your primal shards, which are usually 200 points each. And then you've got your void shards, which are typically 120 points each. And then ancients are usually 20 points each. So if you don't have enough shards, you're not going to do the fusion, period. Then you go on to Classic Arena. Everybody should do that. That starts at the same time as the Summon Rush on the 26th. Gear Hunters event number 2. It's just Dungeon Divers 2. Always annoying. It's always the worst because you have to spend all of your gems to get more energy in order to farm for this. Usually you can't do it with just the resources they give you unless you're saving all the resources from the energy refills. So they give you every other day, they give you an energy refill that you could save in your inbox. So if you save that every single day for a few weeks, you might be able to use that as a resource to potentially get through at least one of the dungeon divers, which is now Gear Hunters. But not even then, you might not even be able to do it without spending at least a little bit of your gems to get energy. You got the Ice Golem tournament starting the 29th during the second gear enhancement event. So you need to make sure you have as much silver as possible. Again, keep in mind, you can just simply go over to the clan, go to your clan quest, collect the quest. I actually didn't do it on my pay to win account, but you want to try to get the silver if you can help it. If you don't have silver, I do tend to get the silver on my free to play account to push me over on the gear enhancement events when I need it. Then we've got the Gear Hunters, so Dungeon Divers, 3 Dungeon Divers events, super annoying. So you're going to have to use a lot of gems here. And then they coincide 3 at the same time on the 2nd of October. Gear Enhancement, Spiders Tournament, and Champ Training. And then they have a Champ Chase at the end. So the good thing is, during the Summon Rush, which is the first summoning event, you can get yourself a Hilda Arnarndottir. And typically, in order to get that epic for the first summoning event, which starts the 26th, which is this Friday, normally it's about 7 sacreds, which is 3,500 points. Now, they could end up bumping this up to 8 sacreds. Just keep in mind, I don't know if they've done that. I don't recall off the top of my head. But if they bump it to 8 sacreds, just keep in mind, it might cost you the Leo that they could do. We don't know if they're actually going to do the Leo event. They're going to do it in some way or another. I assume it's going to be by pulling shards. So if you're pulling all your shards during this fusion, you're probably not going to have the resources to pull your shards for the Leo. So it's kind of like you're stuck between GRANYT or Leo, unless you have an insane amount of resources stockpiled where you could do both with no problem. I don't know if I'll be able to do that on my free to play. I definitely can't do it on my pay to win. I would have to pay for shards just to get the GRANYT on this account. But more than likely, I'm just going to go for Leo on this account and not go for GRANYT on this account. But I'll get the Leo. I don't really care about GRANYT on this account, although he would be super impactful for the account in general. Now, the champ training event, again, there's a lot of champ training. Actually, there's only one. No, there's 2 champ trainings. Okay, there's 2 champ trainings, 3 gear enhancements, and then champ chase in classic arena number 2 there at the end. So yeah, this is a reasonable fusion, but the thing is, you can't miss anything. So if you miss just one event or tournament, you lost the fusion, unless for some reason you pulled Hilda. If you get Hilda from the summon rush, you can actually skip out on the champ chase. So you could skip 4 events or tournaments. So in my opinion, what you would want to do is skip out on the champion chase if you get Hilda. So if you have enough shards, I recommend, if you're going to go for GRANYT, go for Hilda, then skip out on a dungeon diver, 1 or 2 dungeon divers, and then skip out on a champ chase. That's my recommendation. And so you have a little bit of wiggle room by doing the summon rush. I may end up just doing it and risking it and seeing if I can get both on my account, although I would need more sacreds. I have currently 8 sacreds. I'll have 10 sacreds by the time I do the summon rush for this weekend on my free to play. So yeah, there you have it. That is the fusion calendar. If you're going to go for them, just be mindful you might not get Leo. But if you have a crazy amount of resources, then good for you. You're going to be able to get it all. There's a new legendary as well. Klazag Keyhulk is a void legendary. So we're just going to go right over here. We've already gone over GRANYT's abilities. This is the new champion, Klazag. I have plenty of time to talk about the new champions. So Klazag's a void legendary. He's a defensive-based nuker, probably, from the Ogren tribes. Interesting avatar there. So Klazag on the A1 attacks an enemy, transfers all debuffs from this champion to the target before attacking, has a 75% chance of placing True Fear for 1 turn. This debuff cannot be resisted by bosses. So True Fear on a boss, that's good for Chimera. Okay, so for Chimera, this guy might end up being strong. So far, books out to 100% chance to place True Fear, which is great. That's actually stronger than your Lydia, because Lydia does a regular fear, and you have to give her a blessing or a relic in order to turn that into True Fear. So that's not bad. Against champions in Arena, he's kind of a sheep magnet, so I wouldn't really use him in Arena just because of that. And plus, the Wand of Submission will just send the fear right back to him over and over. Then you got A2, attacks all enemies 2 times after the first hit, 75% chance of placing a decreased defense, and a 25% weaken on all enemies for 2 turns. These debuffs cannot be resisted by bosses. Yeah, this guy's going to be Chimera all day, I think. And for Hydra. And then it books out to 100%. Books down to a 3-turn cooldown, which is very strong. After the second hit, has a 75% chance of placing a decreased accuracy and a decreased resistance on all enemies for 2 turns. These debuffs cannot be resisted by bosses. Yeah, this is just shouting out Chimera. 100% Chimera. On the A3, places a counterattack buff on all allies for 2 turns and an unkillable buff on allies. Holy crap. Also a taunt buff on this champion. This guy's disgusting against bosses. If a boss is present in the current round, these buffs are protected. Oh my god. 4-turn cooldown. This guy's disgusting. He's disgusting in Hydra and disgusting in Chimera. But mainly, this guy is Chimera. I keep saying the same thing so you guys can understand. This is a Chimera champion. On the passive, whenever the champion places a debuff on an enemy, deals damage equal to 1% of their max HP. Whenever they put a debuff on them, for each debuff they are currently under, stacks up to 10% of their max HP. Wow, and he's a big damage dealer. Occurs once per skill and once per target. Whoo, this guy could be nasty. Increase ally defense in all battles by 33%. Yeah, you want to get your hands on this guy for sure. If you want someone who's insane for Chimera and Hydra, Klazag is going to be your guy. Literally insane, because once you place all the debuffs, just remember, this ability that attacks all enemies turns into a max HP damage hit ability. That's disgusting. Huge. Hilda, the epic force attack dwarf. Okay, looks kind of cool. 3 hits on the A1, good for Fire Knight. Ignores 10% of the target's defense. Each critical hit, 75% chance of stealing a random buff. It books out to 100% chance on stealing, which is not bad. On the A2, attacks one enemy 2 times. Again, great for Fire Knight. The damage inflicted by the skill increases by 10% for each debuff on the target. Stacks up to 100%. Each hit has a 75% chance of placing a 100% heal reduction. Also good for the boss Amius, as well as Fire Knight, of course. Great for Curse City. Great for general progression. So she's actually pretty insane. I do like her for an epic so far, especially if you're having troubles against the Fire Knight. And it books down to a 3-turn cooldown, which is not bad. And also 100% chance to place heal reduction. And then for Hrothgleim, that's the A3, attacks all enemies before attacking, places a increased attack on all allies by 50%. That's a big version increased attack for 2 turns. And a 40% chance to place a stun for 1 turn. Dang. This books down to a 4-turn. And the stun books out to a 60% chance. She's really good for Dwarf's Crypt. She's going to be really good for Hard Faction Wars as an epic. This is a very strong epic. So if you're not going for GRANYT, I highly recommend at least getting this champion here. This chick's really strong. Hilda is very strong. The passive, Fight Dirty, allies deal 15% more damage to targets under heal reduction or stun placed by her. Wow. If there are multiple champions, okay, that makes sense. Increase ally attack in all battles by 20%. Yeah, this chick's great. She's awesome. I really like this epic champion. Triple hit, double hit, attacks all enemies, places a stun 60% chance, is a very high chance for an epic. That is not bad at all. Then we got the rare Glade Wolf, Void Defense, rare from the Sylvan Watchers. Attacks enemy 3 times, good for Fire Knight. Chance to place decreased speed, 35%, books out to 40-50% chance to place decreased speed, the big version, for 2 turns. Then attacks all enemies on the A2, 50% chance to place a Provoke. This books down to a 4-turn, and Provoke for 1 turn, and it's a 75% chance to place a Provoke. So it's not crazy, but it is still strong. This is good for Curse City as a rare, good for the Hydra boss if you're trying to place Provoke. So that's early game Hydra. This is a good early game champion in my opinion. Pretty strong. Also good for Magma Dragon. And decreased speed's great for Hydra. Decreased speed's also great for Fire Knight as well. Places a counterattack buff on this champion for 2 turns on the A3. Also places a ally protection on all allies for 2 turns. That books down to a 3-turn, which is not bad. And then the passive, decrease the damage this champion receives by 5% for each ally under ally protection placed on this champion. So he will take 20% less damage on a team of 5, and then in Hydra he'll take 25% less damage. So that's really nice. So 20% less damage or 25% less damage depending on where you're using him. This is a pretty strong rare for early mid game and some late game progression. Most people aren't going to use him late game, to be honest, but they'll probably have better options by then. But there are chances you can use him in Curse City or other areas in the game. Yeah, and then in terms of other things going on right now, let me take a quick peek and I'll be right back. All right, so lastly, I apologize for blinding you guys with the white background, but it says this Tuesday, September 22nd, which is tomorrow, we're planning on launching a progressive chance event, giving you 15 times 15 to get a champion of your choice from Ancient, Primals, Sacreds, and Voids. So what we can get in slot 1, you can get Raphael, which is the red dude that does do a block revive ability if he's a damage dealer. Ooze all the Jade. You got Wallmaster Athorion, who's a very strong champion. Great for Hydra. Thor, also great for Hydra. Kaolite, I don't know how to say his name, to be honest. He's great against Armands. Acrisia, great for every area of PvE. Onryo Iyasu, insane for Arena. Tumeshia is old, but she's still fairly good, especially in hard faction wars, as well as Hydra. She's decent. She's just not really used as much. And then for Wednesday, September 23rd, doing a similar type of progressive chance, and you can get April O'Neil on Wednesday. So Raphael Tuesday, April on Wednesday, potential chance to get her if you're pulling your Ancients. This is definitely a huge bait event. I don't recommend you do this unless you have an absurd amount of shards to pull. And even then, if you're trying to go for Leonardo, don't go for any of this. But I will go over it with you either way. Big spenders or spenders will probably do this. But if you're just going to willy-nilly spend your shards, just don't go for it if you're going to go for Leo. Prince Kaimar, potential chance. He's great. I don't have him on my account. He's still a decent champion. Lord Fabian, amazing. If you're going to put someone in, get Lord Fabian for Arena. He's disgusting. Osgrin the Defiler, a decent champion. I think he's a damage dealer, if I'm not mistaken. Let me double check on that one. It's actually a dwarf. Osgrin is one of the Unity champs, I think. Is he a Unity guy? No. He seems like a damage dealer, potentially. Let's see. 50% chance of increase in cooldown on random active skill, 2 turns. Also fills turn meter of all allies by 10%. Good for an A1. 75% chance of removing all buffs from all enemies. Decrease the turn meter of all enemies whose turn meter is equal to or lower than 50% by 20%. If an enemy's turn meter is more than 50% full, decreases it to 50% instead. And chance to place a stun books out to 100% on a 3-turn cooldown. And then teams up with allies to attack a single enemy. The allies joining the attack will use their default skill before attacking, place an increased attack and shatter, which is 70.5%. This is a small version of shatter, not the big version of shatter. Big version's 15%. And this just ignores defense. On all allies for 2 turns, decreases the cooldown of all allies' active skills except this champion by 1 turn if the target's killed. And then allies inflict 20% more damage against enemies under stun. This is a great champion for... I think they're trying to put him in Arena. So they want you to go first with this guy if you can help it. But because Arena has a lot of stone skin, it's kind of hard to use him. So you kind of have to use this ability first and try to stun them and then go into this team's up ability, or you go have someone go faster than him, like an Odin, someone who can strip the buffs on all the enemies first, and then he goes in with the team up ability to kill the enemies. So yeah, he's a decent champion. Osgrin, definitely great. All right, so yeah, Osgrin is a good champion, but again, don't get sucked into this event if you're trying to go for Leo. I highly recommend against going for this. Theodore Savant, still a solo champion for dungeons. Queen of Hearts, really annoying in Arena. Sifi, a great champion in Arena still. Diamant, Copper Coin, kind of meh in my opinion. I think he needs a buff, but that's just me. He's a Void Legendary. I don't think he's super strong. He could be decent in Hydra, decent in Chimera, but he's just not got everything that you're looking for in a champion. When it comes to like debuffs and whatnot, he mostly plays buffs on the team. But yeah, those are the new events and things happening for this week. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Are you going to go for GRANYT? Are you going to skip them completely? Or are you just going to go for Leo? Or are you going to go for both of them? I don't know. I'm still kind of on the fence. Anyways, that's going to be it for this one, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Take care.